What's the stupidest thing someone has said to you with confidence? For more infotainment, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates. Thanks for watching. My history teacher in high school. She didn't really say it, but she had a question on her test that basically asked where Pearl Harbor was, and to her the correct answer was Japan. So everybody who answered Hawaii got it marked wrong. There was a student revolt and she insisted it was in Japan because there was no way Japanese aircraft would make all across the ocean to attack us. We then had to explain to her that aircraft carriers were a thing back then. She wasn't convinced. Anyway, parents got involved and eventually the principal had to step in. The whole test was called into question because of some other questionable stuff. The whole thing was thrown out and we all got A's. Coworker of mine after they find out I'm colorblind. So you can't see this. / is holding a red tray we used to carry orders out. I mean yeah, but... Wait, you can see the tray. / confused for a moment, did you think I couldn't see the object because it's red? Well if you're colorblind you can't see things that are that color, right? They aren't invisible to me, you dumbass. I just can't properly tell what color it is. Edit. I know the trays were red because they were literally called the red trays. Ease it too, deciding to put in a second story regarding people and my color blindness. I was playing Rocket League with a buddy, we're in my club / clan thingy and got matched against people in a different one, so the team colors were used instead of the standard ones. Our team's was white and the others was apparently a green. I complain about it being difficult to distinguish which net to shoot at sometimes and my buddy asks, do you want me to screenshot my screen and send you a picture so you can see their color? I stayed silent and let him think about what he said. It took him about a minute before he realized what he had asked. I as a tiny child thought the same thing. My dad's colorblind as well, so I painted all the eggs green for Easter and hid them on top of bushes and was so proud that he wouldn't be able to find them. I'll admit he put on a good show on how there were no eggs at all. So I had to bring them all back and they were invisible. He's a good dad. He said he could only see them if we busted them on the concrete, so it might have been an excuse to bust a dozen eggs on the grounds. I was in NYC for a holiday and someone I was speaking to asked me if I was French. I said no, I am English, and she told me I wasn't speaking real English. I had to explain to her that would be difficult considering I speak English and am from England. She did not see the irony. I took French in high school and learned from an American teacher who had spent several years in France. She nailed the accent and we were all extremely used to hearing her and the language from the actual French in videos. One day late in the semester she tells us it's time for you to hear French from other parts of the world. We are going to do a listening activity. Please write down what each of these people say. Out of the speakers comes the strangest sounding French I've ever heard. The recordings were from Quebec, Louisiana, and South Africa. I had no idea what the F was going on. None of us understood a word. Madam turned off the recording and told us that feeling, I feel it too. She could barely understand it herself. I worked in IT support and provided escalation support for the help desk and desktop support teams. One day a desktop support tech came into my office for help. The laptop couldn't access the internet. I asked her to open a command prompt and ping the router IP, and she got request timeouts. A point at which any halfway reasonable tech would stop and say, oh, the computer's not on the network. She, on the other hand, got the most know-it-all snotty tone and said to me, I need you to focus on the problem. He cannot get on the internet. He doesn't even use this ping thing. Oh man. Desktop support can be the smartest jacks of all trades in IT, or they can be scraped out of the idiot gutter. It's really a crapshoot. A distant cousin, who has long been a complete dumbass, once told me that whatever direction she is facing is north. It came up when I was on the phone giving someone directions and she was nearby. I said something like, go north on X street, then take a left on Y, etc. She overheard me and said that I didn't make any sense because whatever direction you're facing is north, so north changes depending on which way you are facing. I said no, north is north, it's only the direction you're facing if you happen to be facing north, and she started arguing with me over it. She definitely was not just with me because she is a dumb that has a long history of saying really stupid. Thought I had a horrible sense of direction because I'd get lost any time I had to follow head north on type directions. It wasn't a big deal to me, GPS had been a thing for years and everyone has a cell phone and navigation anyway. And I contained my hiking to well-marked trails when I'd go out adventuring. A friend offered to help figure out my error because it wasn't like sense of direction is relevant when following instructions. He wrote up directions from his hunting cabin over to the duck blind, and we both had a compass and the instructions. Walked out onto the porch, took a few steps, and realized we were both going in different directions. He came back over to see how I'd managed to get lost already. Head SE 300 meters. Okay, get red pointy direction thing to SE, walk 300 meters. He gave me a funny look and asked if I knew how compasses worked. Of course, magnetic north attract, OU. When I went into the nuclear navy, I got the equivalent of a PhD in nuclear engineering in 6 months. All the real nuclear engineers just fell down laughing. Talk about brainwashing. Edit, wow, this blew up. To clarify, the actual engineers, I was one, were designing and building a nuclear power plant. A number of the Navy guys were hired to train the future operators and run the simulator. I think we were in the lunchroom when he said this. Having gone through that program, I can attest that it rigorous. Having gotten out of the nuclear navy and going to college to study nuclear engineering, I can attest they are not the same. A few of my co-workers and I went out to eat after work to a local bar and grill. One of my co-workers is pescatarian. Another one of my co-workers, Chris, is prone to speaking with absolute confidence about things he has incredibly little knowledge about. Janice, pescatarian, orders buffalo shrimp, which is listed under a header of wings and bites. Chris with supreme confidence corrects her and says, "No dear, those are wings." He got possibly the dirtiest look I've ever seen as the table started laughing at him uncontrollably. My old roommate and I went to dinner at a nice restaurant one night. I ordered a veal dish, and she got lamb. After our orders were placed, she started to scold me about how could you eat a baby animal. That's so sad and mean and disgusting. She apparently did not know that lamb was a baby sheep and had eaten it regularly all her life. The company I worked for 20 years ago had a new saleswoman fly out from Chicago to LA. She's got a noon meeting in one of the hotel conference rooms with her client, but when she shows up it isn't ready. She bitches at the hotel, who agrees to get it ready in a hurry. And there she sits, in an empty conference room, for an hour, before calling the client to ask if they were running late. No, they said. They'll be there in 45 minutes, just like they scheduled. She gets the sale, but when she arrives back she has nothing but venom about the trip. First the hotel screws up, then the client shows up late and pretends nothing's wrong, and to make things worse my plane departed 2 hours late, etc. That's when one of her co-workers asks about her watch. Did she remember to reset it once she landed in LA? What do you mean, reset it? It's a Rolex, doesn't it do that automatically? A visiting professor insisted that daylight saving time is needed at latitudes closer to the equator instead of farther from the equator. She then claimed that she lived in the USA for a while and she had experienced DST herself. Her reasoning was that New York observes DST and New York was near the equator. When I pointed out that it snows in New York and it's not close to the equator, she claimed that she had been there and it never snows in New York. We live in India, within the tropics, and we don't observe DST, but she claims we are far from the equator. She was easily the most arrogant piece of I have ever met. She was wrong about so many things but aggressively yelled what she thought was right.